Greetings from Dayton, Ohio. I'm Amelia.
I'm Tom. It's a great day.
Yeah, great day. Today's story is from the Gospel of John, 17th chapter, and it is the story for this coming Sunday, May 29th, which is the last Sunday in the season of Easter this year. So Tom will tell us the story.
All right, so this is the last part of Jesus' high priestly prayer. I ask not only on behalf of these, but also on behalf of those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one. As you, Father, are in me and I am in you, so also may they be in us, so that the world may know that you sent me. The glory that you have given me, I have given to them, so that they may be one, just as we are one, I and them, and you and me, and that they may become completely one, so that the world will know that you have sent me and have loved them with the love with which you have loved me. Father, I desire that these whom you have given me may be with me where I am, to see my glory, that you have given to me because you have loved me since before the foundation of the world. Righteous Father, the world does not know you, but I know you. And these whom you have given me, they know that you have sent me. I have made your name known to them, and I will make it known, so that the love with which you have loved me may be in them, and I in them.
All right, good job, Tom. I have to tell all of you, this was not an easy story to learn. It was tough, wasn't it, Tom?
Yes, it's tough. You have to put on a John brain, and it's a distinctive way of thinking as well as telling a story. But it's also, there's something about this that is just really wonderful in its expression of love and of the unity that is Jesus' prayer.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's just start by describing for us the context of this last part. I think you referenced it as Jesus's high priestly prayer, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the context of this?
Well, the context is this is the end of the longest discourse, the longest speech of Jesus in the whole of the gospel tradition. So it begins in chapter 13 and is then 13 through 17. And all of chapter 17 is this magnificent prayer of Jesus that are his last words in the gospel. So this is an ending. This is an expression of Jesus' deepest desire before his crucifixion, before his glory.
In the first part of the story, which basically is kind of two episodes to this part of John 17 that you told, and in the first episode, twice Jesus says that they may be one. First, it's that they may all be one, and second, then it was that they may be completely one. so this seems to be a very strong desire of Jesus, that his followers would be one.
Right.
What does that mean? And I mean, it's really kind of sad because the church is so divided. I mean, you and I are United Methodists, and right now it's in the throes of a major division. So it's really in our face how not one the church is, and that's been true throughout history. So what do you have to say about all that?
Well, Jesus' prayer is that they may be one, and that they may become completely one. So it's an ongoing prayer that Jesus is making for the community of those who have followed him, who have believed in him. It is, there is, to tell this is also to, simply deal with the sadness of this and the degree to which this division does exactly what Jesus wanted it not to do. That is, that their unity would be a sign that the world would recognize, would come to know and believe that Jesus was sent by God.
Right.
This division undermines the credibility of the gospel,
Yeah.
and of the church's mission and ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And it has done that from the beginning. It's probably the case that, well, it isn't probably. What's in the background of this is the divisions that existed in the first century. And so Jesus' prayer is also a prayer for those who are following him. Then, right at the beginning, there was this problem that he was praying about, and praying that they would overcome this division.
Yeah. Another, because we're United Methodists, like always thinking about what's happening with our, little branch Protestant denomination. But I was just reading yesterday in the New York Times, the leader, I'm not sure what his title is, but the religious leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, which is a huge body of Christians, has come out with full support for what Putin is doing with regard to war on Ukraine, and the Pope in Rome is, against that war. So we're looking at, another kind of division. I don't know what we do other than join Jesus in a prayer that we will somehow be one, and then bear a stronger witness to him as one sent by God. Okay, so let me ask another question. Can you comment on that?
It's an ongoing challenge.
It's an ongoing challenge. That's right.
And it's very, very important that we find ways to come together rather than to split apart.
Yeah. Okay, at the beginning, Jesus talks about, he says, these who are with me, referencing, I gather the 12 disciples, but then he's also talking
11.
about, yes,
The 11 disciples.
The 11 disciples, right? We lost Judas Iscariot at that point. But he also talks about those who will become to believe through their, meaning the 11 disciples, word.
Right.
Who
are
the
story, and that they will tell it to those who will come to believe, through hearing their words, hearing their telling of this story of Jesus. Who were they? Well, I think the reference is probably clearly that they were Gentiles, that John is addressing the listeners of his gospel near the end of the first century as members of the community of Israel. And that those who will believe then are those who are other than the Jewish community, that they are the Gentiles, and that this division this degree of hostility that existed between the people of Israel and Rome and the Gentiles who Rome represented, was a catastrophic division. So this is a prayer for oneness and unity that grows out of and is an expression of love.
Right. There are a lot of big concepts. So you mentioned unity, glory. Jesus talks about glory, and then ends both the first and second episodes talking about love. So what's the cosmic context of God's love?
From the beginning, from before the beginning, God loved Jesus. God loved the Son. So this, it's like a cosmic black hole where love is drawing all things into itself. So this expression of love is an identification of a cosmic love that is present from the beginnings of time. So this is John has a big idea here, and that this love of God that is expressed in the unity of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit and the believers and those who will come after him and those who will listen, they're all bound up in this cosmic love that is from the beginning of time.
So did John, the gospel writer, or Jesus's followers, the 12, and or the first persons who were hearing this gospel, did they believe in a literal heaven where Jesus lives with God the Father and that they would then come to when they die? How did they understand that?
Well, they clearly took heaven seriously. The dichotomy between heaven and the earth, the world, is structural to. So the world has its own identity, its own energy, and that the world may come to believe is an expression that everyone throughout the world, throughout the created order, would come to believe that Jesus was sent by God. And what he was sent by God to do was to bring love and the willingness to die for the sake of others. So this glory that Jesus describes and talks about is the glory associated with his death. So the passion narrative is appropriately, for example, in Raymond Brown's commentary, called the Book of Love, the Book of Glory. And Jesus is clearly expressing that his death, that his being lifted up, is an expression of his glory, that he will be glorified then in his death and resurrection.
What are the implications of this scripture for ministries of peace and justice?
The source of many, I'd say probably all, of the injustice that exists in the world is an expression of hatred that exists between people. And that hatred filters through the expressions of social injustice, poverty, of the hostilities of different ethnic groups toward each other, of warfare that happens between nations, between peoples. It continues to go on. The source of the transformation of this is love. And so this creation of a higher degree of unity is a living out of this primordial love that is proclaimed in this gospel as the source of all things, and of the unity that exists and that continues to grow. That spiritual unity is the source of ministries of justice and peace. It grows out of love. And so this prayer is a prayer for the extension and expression of this divine love that exists between Jesus and the Father, that exists between the various peoples. It all grows out of love, these ministries of peace and justice.
It's really interesting what you're saying, Tom, both as an interpretation of John 17 and as, well, yesterday I finished reading this book called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, which it's a book on spiritual life. And it comes in the category of spiritual, but not religious. And really not until almost the last chapter is God even mentioned. But the things that you're saying is where this whole the book leads to. And in fact, in that last chapter, he quotes John 17, this very passage, because he believes that oneness that's connected with love and unity is where we finally come to if we kind of transcend who we are as physical, emotional beings and become one with God. So it's a very mystical approach, but it is interesting that this passage has led to the comments you just made, and it also led Michael Singer to hit the conclusion of his study of the spiritual life. So and I recommend that book to you, by the way. We're reading it as part of a group I'm in called Centering Down, which we do meditation, centering prayer, and a book study. So that is our current book, and I found it to be really interesting and quite helpful. So recommend that to you. But most of all, I recommend learning these stories, even though some of them are very challenging. But enjoy this one this week.
Part of the invitation of learning this story is the invitation to internalize God's love and to internalize this oneness, this Jesus in me and I and you and we and everybody may be one. So this oneness, this unity that exists as a spiritual experience and a spiritual unity, that's what this whole book of the Gospel of John is about, but especially this prayer is that his prayer that we all may be one, one in love.
All right, everybody have a good week. God bless you.
God bless.